What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and thank you so very much for joining on a fantastic midweek live stream. Again, this is on Wednesday, September 2nd. Doing a live stream, just kind of midweek, kind of recap a couple things. We had a pretty interesting day in the market, if I may say. Had a couple earnings with Cloud and Rocket. Didn't do too hot, but overall had a pretty large recovery in Tesla. If you haven't seen that video I just posted, and a lot of other stocks really just came down to the 21 EMA and just kind of came back. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Blue, Dan, Adam, DTFO, Dan, who else? Alpaca, Ryan, what up? Thank you, everyone, for joining. We're going to be going through, if I can get a thumbs up or something in the chat to let me know that audio sounds good. I did do numerous tests as I normally do. Just wanted to confirm that you guys can hear my my good voice. Alan, what's up, my friend? All right, let's see here. We'll get a couple things set up here. We'll have some fun. Let's go ahead and just look at, let me pull up a couple charts here. All right. PSN, yes. So that is a very interesting call. So we did talk about that actually in the Discord chat on how the SPY and the VIX are both up, and they're both going up, not considerably. Well, as you can see here, the SPY is really going up a lot today. It was up nearly 1.5%. That's pretty substantial in a large ETF like this, hitting an all-time high again today. As we talked about, we're looking for the next overall price target with SPY to be around 37170. Again, that doesn't mean that it has to go up there. It doesn't mean it has to go up there first. It can come back down, go back up, whatever. It can do some barrel rolls. It can do all kinds of things. This does not mean it has to continue straight going up, but the next target for SPY is $371.70 due to the Fibonacci retracement. Because again, if people are looking at SPY, like we talked about, again, being a large gauge of the overall stock market. And then we can look at QQQ, which of course that was, I wouldn't say hit today, but again, a lot of these very heavy technology-based companies were took a little bit of toll, but a lot of them did come back. Again, Tesla we just talked about was down a little bit over a couple percent, like nearly 6%, I believe, but it was down substantially more. It got down to literally 400, like almost $400. It got to like 405, 406 level today. But again, with this NASDAQ, looking here at the QQQs, the noodles as we call them, really just holding this pretty interesting pattern here still between the 5 and 8 moving averages and just continue to grind higher. Hit that and broke above and closed above that $300 range, which we talked about for being a potential target. The next target within QQQ is honestly at 330. Again, that's quite a substantial ways away. But again, to the downside, we're looking for some support around 280 to the downside, and we can kind of look at those different various factors into that. Short-term support, so we're going to come around 292 for the Qs. PSN, yes, VIX is up a lot, UVXY as well. All right, let's go ahead and just dive in some stocks. I got folks piling in, asking for some charts. Let's go to DocU. So DocU, it reports on Thursday, correct? This one really took, again, very concerned that it had such a large run already before earnings, like we just saw with Rocket and all the other folks that weren't able to perform or honestly have the wherewithal to kind of really support those numbers. With the IV rank in this stock is just through the roof. Again, that's with the market overall. With the DocU is, again, we looked for that initial target around 300. Let's call it 294.20, or yeah, basically $295 was the target. Today we hit 290, but we closed around 265. Like, this is not moving $2 or $3 a day. This is moving $20, $30 in a given day, and it's been moving substantially the last couple of days. There's been on a lot of people's minds this huge run up to earnings. Just look at the amount of volume that came into the stock today. We're talking nearly the last couple of days. We're talking 4 or 5 times, 6 times almost the overall movement that we've seen or volume in just the last couple days. We can really see that volume on this chart here. So if we just look at here, the very bottom panel of the chart at the average volume, see the average volume is about 4.8 to 5 million. We traded 25 million shares basically today. And that again, yeah, 5 times the amount of outstanding or shares that traded hands in just one day. That doesn't mean it's going to crash or anything like that. It just means there's a lot of hands in the cookie pot, as they say. So you got to be very careful. You're going to see a lot of fast movement, a lot of crazy stuff going on. For this one, really looking for that target if it can really break above the 295 if you're really bullish. To the downside, we're looking for some short-term support around $223, and then the longer dated support is going to be coming around 220 for DocU. Again, with earnings on the horizon, not in this position, very difficult to play. This could be a complete, literally a flip of a coin to see how this plays out. Because there's just a lot of FOMO in this, a lot of people jumping on board, which I don't think a lot of these folks on these candles know what they're doing. But that's the market, right? Daniel, yes, look, we can look at Apple. So with Apple, kind of looking at here, this move here, it's been, again, another super crazy, amazing stock, holding that 5 and 8 moving averages to continue to grind higher, hitting a little bit of issues like we talked about around 128 to 130, kind of trading in around this range. The next target really for Apple is 175.19 for the Fibonacci retracements. We can do some little bit of shorter dated stuff, but a lot of the potential targets were like 150 to 175 range. Again, the human psychological mind loves those round, even base numbers. So we could potentially see I wouldn't say a slowdown, maybe a cool off period for a couple days, maybe a little bit longer around the 130 potential target. Kind of just trading sideways, potentially building a base to kind of climb up higher to the 150-ish level. Downside support's really going to come in around 120, and we got really a lot of support around 100. 100 is going to be a really nice even number, and that's basically where that previous gap up was on earnings. So that $100 price target is pretty significant. If you want to be completely specific, we're going to be looking at $99.77 is that high there from that gap up. Yeah, we can look at Rocket. So with Rocket reporting today, currently trading around 29.30, 29.36. That's basically coming back down where the 5 EMA lies. Honestly, if you're long, we can look at other positions here. We can see that, hey, that being said, with the 5 and 8 moving averages was being that trend here, and that's kind of set and on track here. Coming back down to the 5 or 8 is somewhat still continue with the trend on this potential movement again. That 5 and 8 moving averages are very aggressive, fast moving averages. Again, we're looking here on the daily chart. You can kind of see here, it had a little bit of an issue getting out of the when the IPO first came up, but it looks like it wants to continue to kind of trade sideways. If we start seeing more damage take place and literally this ship or this vessel of Rocket stock really gets hit and it starts taking on water, that's going to be looking below 25.57. So we start getting below the 21 and we start getting below these key levels of 25 and 23, $24. We could be seeing coming in for a headache of a day and potential switch in the trend. Looking for that potential price target if we can hold here, potentially again hold down even all the way down to $27, $28. We're still looking for that $40 price target to kind of come in to give us that fantastic possibility of hitting that target again if this trend maintains. JD Com, yeah, we can look at JD. Is it just JD? Yeah. So JD, look at this one. It literally hit that level. We talked about the 2618 at $86.57, kind of bounced off it. Doesn't mean it didn't come crashing down, didn't start ripping through the 5 and 8 moving averages, just kind of hit it. It can potentially start building a base here, trying to get enough momentum. There's a little bit of volume coming in here. RSI and volumes on oscillator are still looking fairly strong into the stock, JD, and looking for that potential move higher. Since earnings was already behind us, it looks like earnings was a huge catalyst for this really long extended movement here. We've seen a lot of momentum come through. RSI is really doing very well. Same with the volume zone oscillator, looking for that potential, again, that overhead resistance around 86.57. If we can really build a base here or really break through that, the next overhead target is at $103.76. To the downside, potentially looking at short-term support, looking at 79.38. Longer dated support around the 21 EMA. If we get a quick pullback and maybe a potential V-shaped bottom or bounce, would be anything from $73.64 to basically $70. Because if you've seen this one, this if you're looking on the daily chart again, this really had a huge run up, trade sideways. It's trade sideways, moves up, trade sideways, runs up, trade sideways. Could have a run up and just trade sideways to kind of build that momentum up and see it propel itself forward. Thank you everyone for coming out. I really do appreciate it, everyone. Love it, love it, love it. Dan says silver. Silver. So silver is an interesting one without a doubt. We're seeing potential again. It's just kind of like it had we just talked about JD, kind of the same kind of pattern. It ran up, and since it's again, think of it like kind of like a drag racing car. It has a lot of momentum. It gets enough steam and rocket fuel to go up the hill, and then now it kind of levels off. Potentially, if it's healthy enough and it has the potential to go higher, we want to stay between the 21 and 34, not to trade lower below those. Really key levels to kind of stay above is basically $23 to $23.25 to stay above this levels. With silver, continue looking to kind of trade sideways. The next overhead target for silver is that $30. That $30 has been looming for silver to potentially hit. If we can kind of just trade sideways, we can make that penalty box that we call it, just potentially trade sideways within this range and kind of stay in this range, potentially get that momentum, get that thrust to be able to break through the upper part of this band and get above that $30. To the flip side, if we start seeing some negative movement with the 5 and 8 crossing through the 21, start seeing the ticks close below these key levels around 23 or the high 22s, we could see some potential downside come in below the 22.30, even down to $20 even. Derek C wants to do some spot. Yeah, so spot, definitely full disclosure, is a long-term holding for me. Didn't come down to my buy signal. I had one around, I think it was like, not this one, it might have, maybe didn't trigger. Should have moved this one up. Looking for, again, this really came down to that 21 EMA, but guess what? It really came actually down to this parabolic SAR. You really can't see these dots very well, I should probably adjust those. Maybe a different color. Let's look at these. Oh, come on. I can't even click on them. We're gonna make, what color should we make? Whites to, let's look at this. Might have to play with that later. I kind of like green, maybe red, maybe a pinkish color. No, that kind of messes with that. I don't know. We'll figure correct. We'll ask my interior designer on what we should do about that. With that being said, again, we came right down to that parabolic SAR. Parabolic SARs being the overall somewhat of a trend line, kind of helping us out here, looking at literally coming down to this dot at the 266 price target, bouncing off this. Basically, what we like to do if you're trying to build into a position is buy between, depending on your time horizon, between the 21 and 34. If you're a little bit longer term, you're going to be looking kind of below the 50 or 55 EMAs to kind of potentially add positions there. But this one, again, really spooked a lot of people, opened up pretty large. If we're just looking at, if you know anything about candles and how they work, if they usually have a large wick on the bottom here, psychologically, there's just a lot of people who got scared, took profits, and now are just kind of taking the money and running, in the sense of just like, hey, it sold off. It didn't sell off like crazy like we saw other days. It did have a lot of volume come in today, but it wasn't a large amount of down days. So it could be potentially having a V-shaped bottom, and if we can hold above that, basically 268 range there. And again, that overall target, which I don't have on here, why not? Sorry about that. Give me 1 second, my friend. Basically looking for 315. Much longer term, so I'm looking for 400 for the old Spotify. All right, let's see here. You use the Fibonacci retracements tool quite a bit. Can you explain why you like it so much? Do you just use it for a possible indicator, or do you really take it to heart? Jamie, I take it to heart. I love the Fibonacci retracements in the sense it helps me guide on um, potential price targets and bands. And Alpaca really just explained that really well, much better than I did. Great job, Alpaca. And Preston says I'm up 10K on Oracle, $70. Nice, man. Nice trade, nice trade. We can look at Intel. Yeah, Intel. INTC. So this again had a nice little move here. Looking at these potential retracements here, again, these Fibonacci numbers you asked about, Jamie, these are the retracements. And look at this. From that swing high to low to another previous high, we're seeing that 50% retracement come in. So this is, again, we bought into this trade a little bit. We had the first price target around $52. It hit it. I got out of it some. If this can continue with the 5 and 8 continue going higher, with the parabolic SAR continue to push it higher, we're looking for 55. There could be a lot of overhead resistance here at 55 because that's the 200 EMA kind of comes in there, and that retracement there as well. And that will need a lot of momentum to really break through that and moving forth. That's going to be pretty strong with RSI and volumes on oscillator could be a nice little help here, as alongside as the squeeze really propelling this stock to higher levels. Downside support really short term is going to be around 50.50 and then really back down to around $49 there. Oh shoot, my thing just updated. Oh, hang on. Okay, hang on. Alexander, hey Ken, have you done SPY yet? Made some pretty good gains today. Yeah, Alexander was SPY. We talked about it just towards the beginning of the hour. Basically, the next overhead target, again, this is very much on the high level signaling. I wouldn't say overbought, but it's at a very increased level for a potential pullback. I don't know when that's going to happen. I just like to take a little bit of risk off the table when the overall market is at such a high. But again, that next target with SPY is around 371. Short-term support is going to be coming around 348 to 350. And then that longer dated support basically coming back down to around 339. Jillian says, XS says GMI. Is it the penny stock that we talked about the other day? Or that was the... Yeah, so this one's coming back down to basically the 200 EMA, potentially trying to build a base here. If we start seeing the ticks below the 200 EMA, basically below $8.75, we could see some potential further downside. But again, this pattern looking somewhat okay to potentially start bottoming out. I don't want to call a bottom, but with these 5 and 8 moving averages starting to kind of curl and get more parallel to the 200 EMA and start this bleeding to the downside and potentially seeing start breaking above the 21 EMA a bunch above the $10 limit. Julian says SHLL, one of those crazy IPO stocks that are going through the roof. So this one is basically, if you haven't seen a FOMO stock, this is what we're looking at here. So again, this is the FOMO, just again, everyone just piling into that door, just buy, looking for that movement to continue. If we hit that $62 price target kind of come into fruition there. Downside supports, again, with these huge green candles and the amount of volume kind of coming into there, you got to be somewhat careful with these because anything could just happen overnight and just kind of really scare a lot of people away. Because again, this is not, a lot of these trades that are entering in this, I honestly believe, are not holding it for the investment purposes. A lot of these folks are just in here to kind of literally intraday trade it. It has a lot of liquidity, a lot of volume, so a lot of folks are in there just doing that. And then you have the folks who are trying to buy up and look at it again. What's that stock again? This is SHLL, Dan. Or are you talking about Workhorse with Ryan? I'm sorry, there's conversations going inside the chat, so I apologize if I messed something up there. Hold on. This thing keeps on updating here in my chat here. I'm sorry, guys. 1 second. Sparkly's free stuff says Tesla support levels. Yeah, we can look at Tesla. So Tesla support levels basically looking for initial support kind of coming around the 412, really looking for support around 395 to basically 382. Again, they're pretty large, wide support beams because, again, it's Tesla. It literally moves like crazy. I think Elon's currently in Berlin looking at the factory and talking to the German government regarding paperwork and other blah, blah, blah stuff, looking for that movement. Even support really looks like I like the support basically from the previous high here, looking around 360, and then even like at support around 293. I know these are very wide ranges and they're probably insane, but again, we have that overhead resistance around 500, and the next target, if we can really break above that and get really moving, we're looking for 637 for the Tesla. I'm sorry, I just messed everything up here. My chat, I'm sorry, guys. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Let's see here. Okay, hang on. Looks like I missed someone. If I missed you, I do apologize. Someone said ZM. Yeah, ZM, which is Zoom. Of course, that was a huge move on earnings, huge gap up. Again, looking for that overall target to kind of hold around $446. I was about to say euros. I don't know why. I was thinking of Berlin. That being said, we're looking again. These candles are pretty much in sync here. Like we talked about at a good example to look at this is basically look at CRM, and we're just kind of seeing that movement kind of trade sideways and just continue to grind. I think we could potentially see this with Zoom. I think a lot of people took a lot of profit today. If it can hold above the 400 or 409, we could easily see above 450 and potentially start climbing from there. If that doesn't want to hold and we see some further downside, this is a huge gap up. It's literally just someone just it jumped out of in midair, and it's looking like he's trying to float or fly. Really support coming around 363, but really looking for around 358 as well. That's kind of where these EMAs kind of line up. Again, looking for potentially just kind of trading sideways in this range here, and then seeing these moving averages to potentially try to catch up and give it some support. Someone said space. Who said space? I saw space. It keeps on. The chat's moving so fast today. Let's see here. Ryan says work. Let's do work. Do they? Oops. WKHS. So work, kind of really much in this trading range that we talked about on Sunday. Really just kind of trading this pinball movement. We had a couple nice days on this Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, but it hit that level again, hit that $20.86. Like, again, Jamie, talking about those Fibonacci retracements, I was looking for these potential to kind of hold or potentially try to break through. These numbers just don't exist just for fluff reasons. There is some significant value to these stocks or to those price targets. Looking for that to potentially, again, it basically tried to break out and kind of came back into the penalty box. Potentially, again, the moving averages are trying to climb higher. We did have the squeeze fire. We had some volume come in. So this is all good signs, but this needs to continue. We need to start closing above the 1926 level and start breaking above 20. We can trade sideways in between these levels a little bit, but then seeing that target around $22.90 up to $25 there in the workhorse. Downside, really, if it's breaking below 14 or 15 lower levels, it basically could be quite a ways down if it really has any substantial momentum and selling going on. Hey Fish, what's up, my friend? Let's see here. Oh, SQ. Yeah, SQ, like again, these other fintech or basically technology companies really kind of came down a little bit today. Again, SQ is still the trend is intact. We had that target around 170. It's having a little bit of issues trying to break above that. Again, it didn't break below the 8 EMA, and it's still holding above the 21 EMA. So that trend is still intact. We did take a little bit of damage in the sense of, again, a lot of weak hands potentially got out because we hit that level here around that 170 and seeing that price target to kind of shake some folks out. If we can continue this trend, we're looking for a price target around 205 and just kind of potentially trade sideways at 170 level, potentially build a base to get that momentum to really kick us higher there. To the downside, we start seeing momentum and selling start getting the ticks below 150 to 147. We could see some targets around 140 or 133 to the downside. Also space, yeah, space is one that we have longer term in. So this one has been a little bit of a tricky one, this app. So full disclosure, I might be buying this tomorrow, just FYI too. If you ping me or ask me questions on Friday, I'm basically out. I'll physically be out because I'll have surgery on my abdominal for my hernias, but just wanted to get that out there for some reason because I never want people be left hanging. So I'm not ignoring you. I physically can't ping you back. So with this one, who is this? So this is basically could be a potential, I'm doing air quotes, double bottom in the sense of holding this 200 EMA. I love this pattern when it comes back down to the 200 EMA and just builds a base, gets that momentum build up. We kind of want to see this volume oscillator start getting above zero. Negative 44 is not a good place to be, honestly, if you're long the stock. But as long as it stays above that $16 to $17 range, it's just a nice steady eddy here for me. This base continues to build. The moving averages are kind of settling down here, trading sideways, potentially building that base, consolidating, get that momentum, get a nice slap on the butt, and get back up to the $21 or even the $25 target. If this really breaks, we're looking for downside target around 15 to even down to the $14 level. Elon will be going to Mars, yeah. The VIX does have me nervous too, Ryan, because if you look at the SPY, the Qs, they're all pretty highly elevated. It could be a little bit of a it's like a fear gauge. Like usually a week, once you see the when I want to say like a number, but like 20-30% of the people start seeing the VIX go up in the overall a week after that, you start seeing a lot of people talk about it. I've found that after a week or something like that, we could get a pullback. Not meaning that's not a scientific fact. That's just more like a pattern that I've seen there. Ron says about CCL. Yeah, we look at CCL. These poor cruise lines. Sadly, I can't. I'm not a cruise line kind of guy. We can see that looking at that movement here within CCL, Carnival Cruise Lines. I don't even know, like fundamentally, when are they able to start allowing people to get back on the boats physically and start doing cruises? Like I heard November, I heard October, I heard not until January of next year. Like again, I trade more technical, but I need to know some more of the fundamental instances. But with this one, it's just trying to build. It's building a really nice base here. Like CCL is not like my cup of tea. I don't. It's not a growth stock, but it is a damaged stock. It literally, no pun intended, it took on a lot of water, a lot of damage, but it's building a base here, basically around 16 all the way down to the $14-15 range. Building that base. Once everything is cured, people are going back somewhat to normal and all that stuff, this thing will come back. Do I know to what extent or when that's going to happen? No. Some potential targets for the upside is basically around $20 and then to $25 to the upside. Again, this could be a nice little stock to maybe buy some very cheap leaps. So let me see. So what I use is Tastyworks for my trading account, and we can look at that here. So we can buy some really cheap leaps all the way out for a couple $100. Nothing if you just want to throw some, not YOLO money, but just throw some potential long-term trade and not really look at it. For $300, that might be worth double and couple months or something like that. Again, I don't know to what extent when that could be coming back, but just be mindful that, hey, CCL is potentially, I don't think it's going to be going anywhere, going bankrupt or anything. I think people are still going to be going on cruise lines. It's just kind of finding that perfect time when to buy into it. Alpaca. I bought Rocket because of Ryan. Ryan was pumping it up. Ryan did a pump and dump on you guys. He was pumping it up and he got out right before earnings and everyone held. I'm just joking. All right. Hey, everyone. So we can look at VIX. Yeah. So I can look at, so I use a Viva VXX is what I use, and I trade if I do buy it, if I do buy calls. So this could be a potential move like we talked about. I think a lot of everyone here on the chat is pretty much active in the market, understands the roundabout things, but you have to understand you guys and gals are all in that 1% in the sense of like the 1% of not being the wealthy part, but the 1% of the knowledge base of the stock market. Because you have to remember, you have all the mom and pops, you have the folks who just don't care about the market. They don't look at the VIX. They don't care about what level the SPY is at. So the reason why we talk about those fundamental levels of the hitting all-time highs, because you have to think about it. We look at a very high level at the psychological level. If I pick up the newspaper, which no one does anymore, if I open up Facebook or Instagram and I see markets at all-time highs, you're probably like, the average person's like, well, that's great, honey. Well, I think we should invest more until it goes higher, until that money kind of runs out, or if people start getting like, oh wait, I made 20% profit in a week, I need to take it off the table. And it really plays that teeter-totter kind of balance game if you look at a very fundamental psychological level in the humans. With, again, hitting that all-time highs, you're seeing it hit the media, you're seeing it push to people. That takes time for it to be dispersed across the whole realm of investors, traders, people who don't give a rat's what about the market, and all that kind of various points. It takes a lot of time to flush that out. So with the VIX slowly starting to curl up here, I wouldn't say it's like concerning, but again, people are saying like, hey, I think something could happen. This VIX is getting on a very high elevation level. So what I normally look at, which we talked about on the last live stream on Sunday, is the P-call ratio. So if you have, I think it's, I don't know on other platforms, but in Thinkorswim, if you do money sign PCALL, that's the put to call ratio. And this basically guides on what the overall sentiment of puts and calls. So basically with this one, I usually just follow the 8 EMA here. So we're still at 52.51 to 0.52. And if we really zoom out to like a weekly side of this, we have not seen these levels in quite some time. And even if I go out to a 1 day, 10 year, oh, that was stupid. Hang on. Of course, you see this completely just ramped up here. I know this looks absolutely crazy. So we're looking here all the way out to basically September, the 2016 of September here. So basically 4 years ago, we have not seen these low prices before. So this again could be a soon of all the bull rage that we're seeing, all the movement we're seeing in the market in that sense, or it could be people are a little scared, a little hesitant to kind of see on what's going on here. And it's completely the inverse as well when you have the market well above 0.3 or 0.20, where it could be the bottom in the market. So we hit the highest level around the 8 EMA on the 16th of March. So we can look at SPY, and let me change this chart real fast, sorry. And I go to the 16th of March. Look at that. Right there was where the overall P call the overall sentiment changed in the market, the sense of like, hey, this could be something different. People are kind of switching. And of course, it took a couple more days for it to kind of flush everything else out and get all those other people to trade other ways and get the rest of those weak hands out. From that, looking forth to kind of see that V-shaped recovery that we saw. That doesn't always work. It's always hard and always difficult. I never can call the bottom and I can never call the top. I don't have a crystal ball. So that's the whole premise that I work on, is just that. Okay, Biz, technical and quarterly financials are for nerds. Stocks only go up. Godspeed. I hope that wasn't too boring. That I kind of went off on a tangent there. Sorry, guys. Let's see here. Ryan's in chat pumping his rocket shares. Okay, let's see how he's doing. Let's see what he's doing. Yeah, Upwork. We can do Upwork. Upwork, again, we had that earnings already come out. We're still holding around that $15 range to potentially build that base like we talked about, holding above the 21, basically $14 to $15 level, build that base and start getting that momentum, get that compression through and get that momentum to really push above those highs to get above that 1741 level, to kind of see that move to kind of come through fruition. And then you see, what's TDOX? That's not Teladoc. What is it? I think you mean Teladoc. Is that what you mean? I'm gonna go with Teladoc. I think you mean Teladoc. So Teladoc is one that we looked at here as well on Sunday, I believe, right? We talked about the basically this overall band here. Again, really looking for that upside resistance really come in here at 25.50.78. What is that? Yeah, 25.50 to 25.78 for potential overhead resistance. We've seen that hit twice now, but we have a lot of momentum on our side here. We have a lot of momentum coming in. What we do have as well is kind of like this, I want to call it volume drying up. That doesn't mean it's going to come crashing on this trash, but it looks like, again, that momentum is switching from yellow to blue. That looks great. RSI is trying to get above that 50 to higher of 60. Volumes on oscillators just hanging out, waiting as well. So again, if we can really stay above this level and stay basically above the potentially this 217 to 218 band, or basically above 220 here, which is the upper band of this penalty box, we could see some movement up to 237, which will be that next price target from there. John, he says, can you do a video on how your upper studies are set up? Can you do a video on how your upper studies set up setting wise? Are you talking about these up here, or just my overall charts? Blue's asking for about Adobe. Adobe. Oops, I spelled that wrong. My bad. Adobe. Whew, what a beautiful looking chart there. Very pretty. Talk about Adobe in that penalty box. We can kind of get rid of that now. Really breaking out here with a question mark of earnings coming out on the 15th. Let's look at the charts or the grid here. We can kind of see what's going on. I don't think it's coming out the 5th. Yeah, it might come out it's going to come out the 15th because it has a substantial higher IV on the 18th option. So the 15th is still what the people are thinking about for this potential earnings. Only concern here is this has been running up quite a bit. This is, again, a really strong stock and has been really climbing between that 5 and 8 moving averages. Short-term support really coming around 510 to 505. Next support really coming around $485 to the downside, and down to 470 in that range between, again, that 21 and 34 EMA. Upper band, we're looking for potentially next target at 561.25 to the upside for the Adobe. But again, with earnings on the horizon, we could get a nice earnings run to kind of break above that 560. But again, making an all-time high today, that has been a fantastic move without a doubt. TSM, yeah, Nick, we can look at TSM. This is a Taiwanese semiconductor. This thing had a nice little move today. Really love this stock. We bought it in basically right when I hit the 21 EMA and just been kind of grinding up higher here, looking for that price target initially to come in around $88. To the downside support, we're looking for some support coming around 76 to 75. And then if it doesn't hold below that, we're looking for around price target around $71 to the downside. But again, we have a nice squeeze setting up here. The volumes on oscillators getting positive. That's a nice sexy move. RSI is above 50. It's around 62, so that's a nice little level as well. If we can kind of continue just kind of grinding up between the 5 and 8 moving averages, I think we can get a pretty substantial break above 84 to that $88 price target. And then Verizon, VZ, right? Verizon, wow, what the hell they do? Wow, good for them. That's a nice move right there. Let's look at this. Wasn't expecting Verizon a nice big move like that. Again, look at that. It's been really having a lot of consolidation issues around 60. Finally broke above that today. That's a nice move. A lot of volume coming in. RSI volumes on oscillators looking good. Potentially, if this can continue, we're looking for a price target around $62.28. Brand says, purple, please. Want to buy the 1016 calls maybe tomorrow or Friday. Purple. How did the earnings wasn't great? Ooh, yikes, yoink. That's not a pretty looking chart, my friend. I can just look at that right now. Let me throw some retracements on there for you. Yeah, so we're looking for some damage has been done. We're seeing somewhat of a, doing air quotes for you, my friend, reversal. If the 5 and 8 moving averages can kind of hold around the $19 to $18 level where we're currently at, and build a base here, because we did have the momentum switch. RSI kind of bounced, and same with the volumes on oscillator. We could see that kind of come into fruition here, being in the early set of a base building stock. Base building, or it can just literally, like a lot of stocks have been just doing, is a completely V-shaped recovery. If we can hold around this $18 or $19 level, we could potentially see that $21 price target come in and really break those downward parabolic SARs to the upside, and see that $21 to even come into around $25 to the upside targets there, my friend. BDX, is that Dropbox? DBX. So Dropbox, yeah, this one is very interesting. So full disclosure, my friend, I have a bad relationship with Dropbox. It's been a stock that I went pretty deep in when it first came out, and I learned a lot about myself. Basically buying it all the way down here, kind of had somewhat of a reversal and just continued to trade sideways, and I just kind of got out of it. Really missed this big dump here, I think. Most of the shares I missed on this dump because I don't want to hold it into earnings. But this stock has just been trading sideways for such a long time. If you're looking at more like an intraday or short-term trading, it is looking for a potential movement here. We can do a shorter time frame. So look, 50% retracement is going to come in around $21.88. If we can break above that 50% retracement, we're looking for $22, then $23 from there. Yeah, Teladoc's a great long-term play, I think. IV can crush you very much. Yes. It can hurt you a lot. IV crush is real, especially when you're buying long call or short-dated calls. Alexander's asking for AMD. Of course. Let's look at AMD. Let's see here. Hold on. My stupid chat. Alan says ABT and DLH. Duluth. Yeah, that's the one you told me about. Duluth is the one I wanted to add. That's coming out tomorrow, right? So Duluth. Oh, that's such a pretty stock there, Alan. That's a pretty stock. That's a pretty one. That's a keeper. Uh, so with this one, really kind of broke above that $9.37. Looking for that movement to break above 11 potentially. Only thing I can't really go out and buy this, honestly, Alan, is because it's got earnings coming up. So I might. It's a very cheap stock, so I could just buy some shares and potentially get assigned them. But this is a good looking chart. I really like this. I wanted to look up their website, maybe order something from them to support. But that being said, I love this looking chart. Really looking for some short-term support around that $9.37, and then coming back down to around $8 for support. Upside, we're looking for 11. Really long-term move, not long-term, but really upward price for band is around 13, and then all the way up to 16 there, Alan. And then ABT, is that Abbott Labs? This thing has been a huge runner, broke above our potential target 108, kind of just trading sideways a little bit. We have not broken below those parabolic SAR dots around 105. The continued trade sideways around 108. Potentially next target is around $122.39. So that's still substantially ways away, but that overall pattern is still somewhat intact with those moving averages. If we start seeing some downside, start breaking below that 103 level to 100, we could be looking for around $97 target there. AXP, is that American Express? Yeah, this looks interesting. So this looks, we've been looking at this one for quite some time, kind of really trying to break above that 102 level. It did close above it, which is a good sign. It's green, not red like this previous time here. And we're slowly getting our way up the movement here, potentially to see that next target at 110. Downside support's really going to come in around $100 to even down to 96 to the downside. But this looks super interesting without a doubt. So I really do look at that. What was that alert from? New member. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Nice. Thank you for joining. I appreciate that. Thank you. I love the love. I really do appreciate it. Where was I? I'm sorry. I get distracted. I've got Alexander asked for AMD. AMD, yes. That was my money printing machine this year, without a doubt. With this movement again, we looked for that initial target around 95. We're seeing that momentum still kind of continue like we did today. We had some folks kind of get off the bandwagon and sell a little bit today, as of we saw earlier. But again, this trade is still somewhat intact, holding that 5 and 8 moving averages to the upside. Since I'm a much longer dated AMD, longer term calls and leaps, that this doesn't matter. I'm really looking for that price target around 130, honestly. But to the downside, support coming around 83. 83 to basically $80 is going to be the first support to the downside if you're somewhat swinging it, and then next support around $73 there, Alexander. Hold on, my chat just updated again. Alpaca, what WTF is DHTS? Duluth Trading Company, the cup that does the funny commercials. Google is not helping. Google's not helping. What do you mean? Amazon. You want to look at Amazon? Yes, Amazon. Whew. Talk about the king. So with this Amazon, basically still holding the 21 EMA for that support. That we have that imaginary purple line here, aka I use my witchcraftery to kind of potentially give some voodoo to the trading gods, give them some blood, and allow them to hold this make-believe line here to the upside, aka it's really just holding that 21 EMA with those parabolic SAR darts, continue allowing it up. We're looking for the next overhead target around $3,627.53 for the next overhead target. And then after that, we're looking for the next target above 4,800. Really looking for that. Let's actually do this real fast. I'm going to do a short-term Fibonacci here. This is going to give us a little better Yeah, so basically looking for that next about 3,635, and the next target around 4,000. But it really needs a lot of overhead. A lot of lines are really lining up here at this 3,653 level here, for the old Amazon. Hold on one second. I just got a ping from Dark Skies and severe weather. What do you mean by that? Severe thunderstorm warning. Effective at 6:32 and ends at 7:15. Okay. They only let me know 20 minutes later. Okay. Thank you, Dark Skies. Dark Skies, if you haven't, I'm not this is not even I should stop saying that. This is not a sponsor from Dark Skies, but that is a great overall app for tracking weather or anything like that on your iPhone. And I think Apple just bought them a ways back too. Yep. So with this movement again, support to the downside looking initially at the short term around 34.35, but again that ongoing support around 33.115 for the Amazon, and just continue to slowly grind higher from there. Let's see here. Thank you everyone for the ongoing fantastic support in chat. I really do love it. Let's see, who did I thought I missed something. Oh, CRM blue. Okay, I've seen it. Sorry, I just saw that blue. I have to. There we go. CRM, Salesforce. Whew, of course, with this movement that we just seen has been absolutely gangbusters here with this. Like, honestly, I woke up and I had alert like, oh, unusual volume on CRM. I said, what are you talking about there, Thinkorswim algorithm? And it said, yeah, there's a lot of volume there, Ken, on CRM. I said, no, I don't believe it. Killed it on earnings, broke through anyone's price target. Everything's kind of reevaluating. Looking for the next overhead target at 325. I know that seems really far away, but that's what the fibs are saying. We can do a updated one here real fast. I can do a fib to the short-termer side here. So again, this kind of paints a little bit of a better picture here. Looking for some downward support, kind of lining up with the 8 EMA and where the 264 and 6 cents for the short-term support, and then longer data support really coming around the 237 upward band. We're looking for above $300 potentially for the old CRM there, but this thing has been a monstrous stock, and it's just potentially people trying to reevaluate. You got all the analysts in their dark rooms trying to rewrite the projections and write their little Excel formulas out there. Yeah, Alpaca, without a doubt. Amazon's taking on the world without a doubt. GAIM just cut off a lot of its zombie. What? You say GE? GE? Oh yeah, look at this one. 4% move on GE. Nice. We had, I think, was this you, Alpaca, who talked about this on Sunday? Who brought it up? We really need to see it above $6.50 here. That's kind of where the downward trending 21 EMA is kind of coming into, and potentially see it break above that. To see that target kind of come in around 675. Like, it's a very cheap stock, but it's also a very beaten down stock. You can really just see it really fell from graces from $13 at the beginning of the year all the way down to $5, and just it's having a very tough time to recover from that. Will it recover? I think so too, just like we talked about with Carnival Cruise Lines. Hey, things will happen. It'll be fine. But looking at potential holding here at $6.50 and breaking above that 21 EMA, we do have a squeeze in place. The last couple squeezes have fired short. This one and this one have both fired short, but that was since the pandemic. But potentially looking to kind of see it hold above and break out above the 21 EMA. Yeah, they do make those wind turbines, don't they? Wind is good for a Biden win. Uh, Tech is asking, look, hey Ken, look at HOFT. Never heard of that. Which one's that, my friend? HOFT. Hooker Furniture. What is this? What's a hooker? Yeah, Dave, what's his name? Dave Portnoy is he's definitely long. Isn't he long Alibaba? Uh, he's long Alibaba Airlines and cruise lines, right? That's basically his bigger positions. What last time I saw. But he's a day trader, so I don't know if he's holding all those stocks. So we're looking again with this one. This looks interesting. Finally breaking out of this high here on the yearly chart here. And it looks like it had earnings or has earnings on the 3rd before the market. So it has it tomorrow. Okay, so this is interesting. Potentially can see here some downward support around 23 and then upper overhead target around 29.79 here for that one, Tech. That's the lady of the night, Ken. I'm just playing. Airlines. So I own some longer dated jets. So this is again, jets is basically the ETF that tracks all the airlines, and I bought some longer dated ones way back. I don't know, by this dip here, um, and it's nice, kind of just trending sideways, building that base, potentially start seeing this momentum kind of pick up again. I don't know when the economy is coming back, if it's coming back. I don't have a crystal ball, but seeing that potentially just trade sideways, as long as it stays above like $16 to $15, it's fine. Potentially start seeing that price to come in, potentially start making its way up to $20 there for the old airlines. Someone says the Goog, the Goog. Whoa, look at that one. All the other tech was down today, but Google just took off. That is pretty intense. Looking for, I think we talked about this on Sunday live stream, potentially seeing that 1671 being some overhead pressure, and it literally just cut right through that. And it just made its way all the potentially next target is around at 1853.26. Again, that is a really nice move today, and added some volume. Volumes on oscillator and RSI are both looking good. Momentum still building. This looks really nice up to potentially, again, if the market continued going higher, that 1853 is a pretty nice goal to be hit on. To hit on. I'm thinking about hookers now. Anyways, looking for some downside support around 1590 and then around 1530 to the downside. If this 1671 can hold, potentially build a base to build that momentum to get up there, that'd be fantastic. Google kind of trades really weird. It doesn't really trade with a lot of the tech heavy folks, but like, it's definitely a weird one to trade without a doubt. I don't trade it that much, to be quite honest. Kindly check ZUO. I've seen that one make its rounds around the market. Yeah, huge. Again, looks like it did earnings. It didn't lose on earnings. So it had on the 2nd. Let me look at the longer dated chart. Yeah, it looks like it's potentially wants to break out of this overall downward trend here. We're seeing that movement to kind of come in here. Really breaking above that 200 EMA, had that nice earnings run, broke out, now hitting all-time highs on the yearly chart. But if we scroll to the weekly chart, we're seeing, again, just these levels of 37 over here. So previous swing high to previous swing low, if you're looking at here, potentially next overhead resistance is around $18.27. We can get above that. We're looking for 22, but really looking for some downward support on the daily side if you're trading at basically around $12 there. Yeah, Intel had a nice little bump today, but like we just talked about it. I think we talked about this already. I don't know, I'll just repeat myself. But it's hitting that first wall of resistance at 52.28. If it could break through that, we're looking for that price target around 55. Downside support really coming around $50. Nick is asking for BA and Beyond Meat. BA, kind of the airline stocks, just trading sideways. If it breaks above 193, that's fantastic to the upside. Downside, if it breaks below 162 to 160, that's not good for the downside. Beyond Meat, full disclosure, I own stock and Beyond Meat longer term account. That being said, we're seeing some a lot of price consolidation around the 21 EMA. Kind of took a hit after earnings. The first earnings here, took a hit a little bit after earnings with that overall meat processing. Everyone got sick or whatever kind of thing with all the meat market, and then Beyond Meat kind of came in and capitalized on it a little bit. Then kind of just trading sideways between this range of like 143 and 130 and just traded sideways a little bit, really holding really tightly around this 130 price target. I think if we can stay above 130, even above 125, which is this level here, and see the squeeze indicate and get some more volume into the stock, we can easily see potentially some price targets around 145 to 150 to the upside. To the downside, if we start breaking below those levels, the first level support is going to be coming around this 200 EMA around 116 to around 115 to the downside there. Give me 1 second. I need to turn a light on in my room. I just want to make sure. There's a big storm of brewing here, so I have about, if the power goes out over the screen, the screen gets disconnected, is we're having a summer storm here in good old Virginia here. And here comes the rain. You can hear that. Uno momento, I'll be right back. All right, sorry, let me take a drink of water. Rain, go away. And Blue's asking about NVIDIA. Ooh, yeah. NVIDIA releasing their new 3000 overall hard drive. Not hard drive, graphics card. That's a hard one. Like Blue, this thing has just been a rocket ship, and this has been a very difficult one to buy. We did buy this one, I think, around before it hit 500, and we kind of wrote it up and sold it off for a quick trade. Wasn't an investment because I didn't get a price that I wanted. But seeing this kind of consolidating, still trading around that 5 and 8 moving average, to continue to grind higher. Looking for this potentially to continue, but it's starting to get pretty far elevated away from this. We're hitting the top band of the RSI at the, doing air quotes, the overbought, what people call. But this thing has just been a monstrous stock, and if you're in it, you just keep on riding it until it starts giving some signs of selling. Again, the signs of selling is going to start breaking below the 21 and even 34, depending on your time horizon within that stock. NVIDIA was a moneymaker without a doubt. That's just a well-rounded company. Again, look, oh, this rain's really picking up outside. 1 second, folks. All right, so got NVIDIA. Those RTX cards are crazy. That the TI series. Yeah, a lot of the tech stocks are very high. That's the thing. Like that's why the VIX is climbing because everything's just really just ratcheting up. So the best way to look at the overall tech sector, we should look at not really XLK, but we can kind of look at XLK. So XLK is the overall tech heavy section company or S&P 500 section. Looking at these levels here, that really kind of basically kind of follows the Nasdaq of what levels we're looking at, breaking out to all-time highs again today. Really seeing this overbought kind of coming in. RSI is printing super strong. Volumes on oscillators printing super strong. A lot of volume coming in ever since the overall bottom of this year. On the weekly side, we are really breaking higher. On the longer term side, downward support is going to be coming around 112 and even coming down to 105 to 102 to the downside here. So it's definitely a pretty large move in the overall section. So I'm being very mindful and adamant of like, hey, I'm not saying there's a bubble, but you have to be very careful and mindful of like things can change overnight and the market can give you some great opportunities and then at the same time can take a lot of things away. So be very mindful, be very methodical, and just don't like the video I just did the other day. Someone literally put their whole portfolio into Zoom and they lost everything. Like, don't do that. With DraftKings hitting that upper band here as well, hitting that $41 that we initially talked about, kind of having issues, potentially not having issues in that sense, but looking for that movement to kind of continue looking here at $41. If it can stay above that 38.20, which would be fantastic. Kind of trade sideways a little bit and see that really that 21 EMA start grinding its way higher. We had a lot of volume coming in today, so that's a lot of that movement kind of come in today and really potentially gave it that momentum to drive higher. If it can stay above that 38.20, potentially seeing that next overhead target around that 41 to 44.79 there. Ashwan says yes, Visa. Visa breaking another all-time highs, finally getting above that previous high that we talked about around 214 to 215. The next overhead target is at basically 235. That is somewhat of a reachable goal because it's the 1272 extension. It's not like a higher extension above that. So we're looking for that movement to that side there. Potential downside support coming around 205 and then even down to 197 for much stronger support there for the Visa. But again, we had a nice momentum kind of come in here with that squeeze. RSI is doing well. Same with the volumes on oscillator has been printing and allowing the stock to do its job and run. No one's really asked about, what was the one that I wanted to talk about? Oh, shoot. Oh, FedEx. So FedEx was a stock that we talked about on Sunday, potentially at holding that 5 and 8 moving averages to see that momentum. Again, it has earnings on the 15th to have a nice earnings run to kind of break above that $234 level. I took the position. It's been fantastic. Really looking for that potentially to kind of break above that 234.30. As an earnings runs, we'll be getting it out before earnings. I don't like to hold calls into earnings, so that IV is really getting really high, getting hot in there. If it has a fantastic quarter and longer term projections, we're looking for price targets around 273 and even price targets at 323 to the upside for the old FedEx there. So FedEx has been a great little move there without a doubt. Ryan, yes, Logi. I know, I felt it. I felt this. This one is just, it's trying. Really looking for that move. Yeah, I'm looking, same on the same boat there, Ryan. Same boat. I wanted to. It was a much longer dated move here. This is not going to be. This might blow your socks off. So look at that. It's hitting that 76.30 level here, potentially just kind of trading sideways. We do have a squeeze building up. We have some volume coming in here, which is great. RSI and volumes on also need to start participating in this move here. It needs to break above that $76 limit, looking for 104. I know that sounds crazy. 104 is the next potential price target within Logitech. One second, I need some more water. Oh, snaps. Oh, snaps. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, right. You guys talking about League of Legends? What are you guys talking about? Holy moly guacamole. Turned into a gaming chat. Let me see. I had another. Did we talk about Etsy? No, we didn't. I'm gonna show Etsy. Etsy, nice little strange pattern here. Kind of still holding it. Looking for that kind of break above that 130 level. Again, pretty substantial level that kind of bounced off here multiple times. The only thing that's kind of scaring me is a little bit of squeeze in the volumes and also kind of coming to the negative territory. We could see some pretty interesting activity going on there, though. Roku. Finally breaking at all-time highs just yesterday. Looking to potentially hold this 176.55 pattern. Roku is a very interesting stock because it kind of has a upward move it, trade sideways, upward move it, trade sideways, upward move it, trade sideways. So potentially looking for this to hold around 176.55, around that range, to build that base and potentially test 208. If it doesn't, we're looking for some downside support around 158 to 151 to the downside. Ryan says what about Microsoft? Microsoft coming out here pretty strong. Again, talking about that old ticky-tock. Still never used it in my life. We had a really small cup and handle, or really just a cup here, and now printing substantially higher today, nearly up 2%. Looking for that movement to continue with that really strong momentum here. We see that move here. RSI and volumes on oscillator are both looking very much in the bullish category to kind of potentially break out or continue to break out to slowly grind to that target around $242.14. For Microsoft. Downside support is really going to come into short-term side around $224, and then the little bit longer dated support around 218 there, Ryan. Let's see here. Okay, hold on. Chat's moving really fast today, boys. Jeremy's also says crowd. Yeah, didn't they miss? Why do my phone start go into Siri mode. Ay. Crowd. The only concern here is that, like we talk about, is this huge earnings run into earnings when people are all kind of going to be somewhat similar. I'm projecting. I don't normally play calls with earnings, but this thing is just had too much momentum going into earnings. Huge amount of volume and a lot of upward movement here. Again, to that high of around 153. And if we look at the earnings right now, it came back down to around 132. So it came back down to that 168 level. So we can kind of look here, potentially to kind of hold here above the 5 EMA, so around 131-ish. If it starts breaking below that, we're looking for 125, and then from 125 down to 118 to the upside, to the downside. To the upside, we'll still have that target around 160 to the upside. Yeah, we can look at DocU again. So DocU is going to be basically the bigger one that could be happening or coming at the earnings tomorrow. Only concern is that, hey, we just saw with a lot of the other SaaS-based companies, they had a huge run up, and guess what happened? They kind of gave it all back. But again, that doesn't mean that DocU has to follow that pattern. It's a coin flip. It doesn't care what happened to the previous flip. It doesn't care what happened to the next flip. It just cares about what kind of coin it's going to flip that day. So that being said, for DocU, we're looking for some support around 240, but even to the upside above 300. So 295 to 300 would be the upper band potentially to break out, with DocU literally jumping from 225 to 290 in about 2 days. That's an insane move. So I had to be a little bit hesitant and kind of step back a little bit of like, hey, we have earnings coming up. That could be a coin flip. Be very careful out there. The understanding of trading that. BNGO. What is BNGO? That's a penny stock. Sorry, I can't cover that. Let's see here. Alan says Ford. Yeah, Ford. Did it finally break above 7? Nope. Look at that. Ford is trying to build a base here. I kind of like this, honestly, Alan. Just for like a trade idea. If it can still hold above the $6.80, I actually kind of like that. I really do like this pattern actually for a trade. Potentially just kind of holding sideways here. It can hold above the $6.80 to potentially see that move above $7.46. We can see that move really kind of break above that level if we can get that squeeze to fire. The volumes on oscillators going positive. That looks really good. And the overall RSI is trying to participate and break above that 70 or a $50 or 50 point move. Ryan. Oh, Ryan with the boomer comments. One day, Ryan, one day. So with Ford again, I like it, Alan. That's a dependent. I don't know if you didn't say if you're going short or long, but I like it to the long side. If you want to go short side, it's got to stay basically below the 200 EMA and start seeing that moving averages start crossing below that $6 and 78 cents to 80 cents there. And then if we could looking for some targets around $6.11 to the downside. Bag chasers, we did BA, we did Amazon already. Amazon's very highly elevated. BA is kind of trading in a range between 193 and 166, or sorry, 162. So I'm just kind of waiting for it to play out. I'm really just playing the ETF called Jets to kind of play that. You're long, Alan. Okay, I potentially might put a trade on for that. I'll see how that plays out. Thank you, my friend Alan. Always appreciate it. David, you got a lot of Microsoft. Microsoft looks really strong. Again, I don't know how this is all going to play out with the whole TikTok stuff, but I don't even know. I have no idea. Let's look at blah blah. Strong earnings, coming out strong. Still holding that 5 and 8 moving averages. Very tech heavy company. looking for that movement to around 312 overhead target. Downside support in the short term is around $284. Stronger support around the 21 EMA and the parabolic SAR and the 1272 extension at 275.36. So that is a pretty interesting target, and I'm actually going to put an alert there. If it hits that level, boys, I'm going to put it right above it just a little bit, and we're going to put a potential oval here. Right about, oh, more of a circle. I want to hit that target. I don't know when it's going to hit it, but I think I'm going to have to move it every day. Exactly. Paka, Docu has moved so much already. It's a little scary. Mitch says Microsoft Teams is garbage. Short Microsoft Teams. I think Microsoft Teams is really underutilized, and it's just trying to really compete with Slack. Microsoft does make good software. Have you used 365 Suite, my friend? Shane says, why Jets? Jets is basically, instead of just trying to pick a winner in the overall airline space of like if I chose Love or I chose Southwest, if I chose United or whatever, I just basically get them all in one little box and a nice little gifted box with looking at that potential, just trading sideways here. As long as it stays above that $17 or $16 price target to potentially build that base and get that movement towards the $20 price target. That movement to the downside, we're looking for some support kind of coming around 15. Ryan says PRPL. PR what? Sorry, the wind is, holy moly, it is raining. Yikers, can you guys hear that? Oh, what is this one, Ryan? Never heard of this one before. That move has already taken place and I've missed it. Yikers. Looking for that, if this can continue with this, there's a lot of movement going up here. Next target around 186, but this is breaking and just continue to grind higher. Looking for that movement to kind of hold here at downside support. We're looking around 144 to 136. This thing is really just performing very well. Had a huge move, and sadly that it's going to be a very difficult stock to buy there. Mitch's SRNE. This one has just been really much beaten up here again. This was a very difficult trade to do on trying to bet on who would get the bid, the win of the vaccine or any kind of news around that. This thing has really been beaten up. We talked about that 7-11 price target to kind of be a potential short-term bottom. But since the moving averages are still aggressively pointing down, especially the 8 and 21, they have not started to curl up and start to level off here. We could see this pressure continue to the downside, potentially breaking its way down to $6 to even down to $5.50 before it finds a bottom. Because as long as these ticks continue to make a lower low here, that just wants to continue going lower, just continue being beaten up there. So this is sadly, it's been beaten up and really just taken on damage. The Internet Explorer is terrible, or now they call it Edge, but who uses that? So Rocket doesn't rocket. Sell Docu, Apaka saying. Looking for a Wall Street Bets pump. Don't be careful with those Wall Street Bets pumps. Those folks at Wall Street Bets are cray. I think the overall vaccine gold rush is somewhat over, and it's going to be very, again, it's the thought process that I've always thought of. Like, it's one of the Warren Buffett books or one of the investing books, where it was like, when the turn of the century came around, the Industrial Revolution, of like, there was 500 car companies. Of course, you had GM, Ford, and all those other companies, but then you had hundreds of other ones. And the premises was like, how do I choose which one's going to win? I know someone's going to win, but how do I pick out of 500 of them? So the best process was to short the horses. Like, we know that cars are the future. Horses are going to go away, so you have to short the horse farmers. So I always thought that was funny. I always think of that when I think of different various groups in the overall stocks. Jeremy, we did Beyond Meat. So disclosure, I own Beyond Meat long term. Looking for that hold around 130, potentially support around 115 to 118. If this can hold around 130, get the squeeze and some more volume into the stock, we could easily see around 140 to 157. Hosh the Ghost CS, yeah, Zscaler. I love this stock. Sadly, I actually like the CEO. So I don't know if you probably know this already, is that the CEO owns a huge portion of the shares, like like an astronomical amount, and he's like, I'm not selling. I'm going. He's literally tied to the stock. It's the same thing like Tesla, and I always look for that component of when the CEO is really tied and his incentive is really tied to the stock. But we can look here. Looking for the next price target around 164. Let's just call it 165 to the upside there for ZS. But this has just been an astronomical move. Since it hasn't had earnings yet, and I'm a little afraid this could be an earnings run, and then it could be a dump because it didn't meet expectations and people got weak hands and they misconstrued it, or they just kind of sandbag some of the earnings or potential outlook. This can just be a coin flip again. If you're in this move, you're potentially looking for 164, but then downside looking for support around 146, and then even down to 140 to 135 for that secondary support there. Yeah, I'm not dumping it. What the fudge and brownies happened to SQ? SQ just has been doing well. Like, it did get hit a little bit today, but again, it hit that upper band of that 170 price target we had for SQ. So looking again, it's still holding that 5 and 8 moving averages to continue to grind higher, but that overall that trend is still intact because it hasn't broken below the parabolic SAR of the 21. So it hasn't broken below 150 or even below the 148. So that trend is still intact. It's just hitting a little bit of a ceiling of resistance there. Yeah, Rocket earnings, Leo, is basically, again, we have to wait how the overall market takes it in. We're looking for some support, basically kind of come back around the 2830 level. If that can hold above that, even down to around 2750-ish, to kind of hold that trend, and again, between the 5 and 8 moving averages on the daily side to continue going higher. Not in the AM, bro. Looking for Apple. Apple, again, we're looking for, they had a huge move, again, with the overall fun, like split stuff, everyone getting their banana splits, everyone getting their free money, whatever they thought. Looking for that movement to kind of consolidate here. Because again, we can do a short-term fib here real fast, which is kind of give us a little bit of better insight. Look, we hit that 135 here. The next overall targets is way above like 165, 175 to the upside. We can easily just trade sideways between 130 and 135 for a little bit, consolidate, kind of get potentially some weak hands out and then see some potential moves higher there. But this thing, Amazon or Apple is still very strong. The Ghost says, what do you think about Snap? So Snap was actually on one of my trade ideas for the Patreon and then also the YouTube membership tab. It finally kind of came through today. It held the 21. We wanted to buy into it on Friday, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. To kind of see that movement come through. Came back down to 21 EMA, and now it's finally bursting through. We were looking for initial targets around 23.72. I think that could still be met. That has been a very large move today of up exactly 5%, and seeing that potentially continue looking for $24 to $25 to the upside there for Snap. Downside support's really going to be coming around 22 and 8 cents. Leo says FB all-time high, maybe. That's Facebook, and I can't type. So with Facebook again, Facebook's a lot in the news, especially with the elections coming up. I think that they donated. Didn't him and his wife like donate a couple? They've donated a lot. I think it was. I had to look it up. I think it was like 300 million to different like profit organizations to kind of help election fraud or election stuff or whatever kind of things. Looking for that movement to kind of hold here to break above 305. If we can break above 305 with some volume and overall movement, we can see that 318 is the next price target within the old Facebook there. Again, downside support in the short term is going to be coming around 290, and then you're going to have a lot of support below the 280 to 275 range. Mitch says a GIS earnings upcoming. They smashed on last. The old cereal company. Yeah, I like Ryan, who's still there. This is a boomer stock, right? With this one, really just kind of holding a steady eddy here. Had a nice little quarter here as well with earnings coming up. This is a nice little steady eddy stock without a doubt. I don't know what the hell happened here. That's a crazy move there. But this looks pretty nice here, looking on the weekly side. Yeah, it looks pretty good, as long as it stays above the 61, 62 range. Just wants to be a nice steady eddy stock moving into earnings. Nothing really exciting there, so, but it's moving. Yeah, Amazon. I think many years ago Bezos was asked if he would ever split the company or do a stock split, and he said no. I have to find that interview. I still haven't found it. ELCK3 Piton, yes, Piton. This one has been blown up here. My fear here is, again, this is a too much of an earnings run. They have earnings on the 10th here. Looking for that price target. We talked about $90. We talked about that on Sunday, and everyone, I wasn't laughing, but I was like, you never know with these stocks. And of course, with the FOMO and the overall movement and things like that, people can get really excited about things. But this thing has moved quite a bit here. And a lot of volume coming in the stock, and I had to be somewhat reserved in the sense of like, hey, hold up, wait a minute, this has moved too much potentially into earnings, and I'm a little bit, I want to say skeptical. I have to be a little bit careful in the sense of how things could work out, because again, we just talked about Crowd, we saw Rocket, we have DocU coming up as well to kind of see how that plays out. Usually if it has a huge run up in earnings, like we're talking in the last 3 days, it ran from 76 to 92. What kind of movement is that? We can kind of look at that percentage move. Basically 22% move in the last 3 days. That's pretty substantial in a stock like that. It's hitting the top band of RSI and volumes on oscillator. But look here on the weekly side, this thing has just been a powerhouse stock. If you're in it, you're doing fantastic. You're a happy camper. But it's hard to get into the stock unless you get a pullback to around the 73 range to even $70 range to the downside. Richard says Disney. Yes, full disclosure, I am long term the Diz. This one with the Diz, nice steady Eddie here. We love it. Looking for some potential targets around 137 here, 137.50. I think there could be a little bit of FOMO kicking in here. We got the Mulan movie coming out on Friday for streaming on worldwide devices, and everyone has to, I think you have to have a Disney Plus account, I think, with that. That being said, we're seeing that trend kind of start creeping up here around the 137, potentially kind of could be hitting that wall of resistance, that overhead pressure, trading sideways a little bit. With Disney, it likes to hold around these fib levels and then moves up, hold around the fib levels and then moves up, or vice versa, down or up. Looking for some downward support short term around 130, a little bit more support coming around 125 to the downside, and then a lot of support coming around 122. That's basically the 200 EMA there. Nathan says time stomp for Tesla. What does that mean? So Tesla, what we just talked about a couple times here, we're looking for some support basically around the 395 to 400. That's going to be on the short-term downside, but looking for a lot of support around 326. Upside resistance around 500. Next target around 637 there. Turns out that's the difficult thing. Like if you're a little bit too early, especially with calls, you can really get punished with that. To not. Have you done NVIDIA yet? I am seeing a bearish raising wedge pattern forming on the hourly chart. Looks like it might sell more tomorrow. What do you think? Great. We have done NVIDIA, but we can cover it again. It's definitely one that has been running up. So NVIDIA, I don't own this, and I don't trade the hourly chart. I trade the daily, weekly, and maybe go down to the 4-hour chart. I can break it down to the 4-hour chart if you like. This looks like it's still a very strong move within it. For me, it really needs to start breaking below the 21 EMA, which is around $545, down to 534. Really looking here on the daily side, that kind of lines up around the $500 basically potential support to the downside. And it basically, it can hold that 21. It can come all the way down to 500, and the trend is still intact. If it comes down literally from the price it is now with one red candle, and they say like, hey, NVIDIA's new chips have poison in it, so each time you play your favorite game, it spits out poison in your eyes or whatever, then there's a problem. But this large red candles, if it slowly makes its way down to the 21 EMA, that's the support, and that's the trend that I follow on the daily side. It can even touch the 34, so the 34 EMA on the daily side. If you're trading the hourly chart, you're most likely doing very short-term trading of maybe plus or minus 5 to a weekday, 5 days-ish kind of holding swing, or even shorter time frame. I don't do well trading in that sense. I do actually very bad with short-term trading, and really just really much day trading. I just found that I trade the 4-hour, daily, and the weekly charts substantially better. And of course, this is all about making money, so yeah. Yeah, we did Piton. We just did Piton, yeah. Piton looks fantastic if you're in it. Yeah, you're welcome. Like, I don't want to insult you, photo, but it's basically, I just don't trade. It's not my cup of tea. It's difficult, especially on the daily side. If you look at this like at a daily chart, let's look at this. Let me just look at it. Like, no indicators on it. It just looks like it's just holding this line here. Like, you can just draw these make-believe lines all day. This is basically what it looks like to me. It would need to basically start breaking below 570. Tree, you got your, did you buy some at 420? I bought some at 415-ish. Run, is that a stock? Oh, Sunrun. Oh, yes. Are you in this tech? This has been a really nice move without a doubt. This has been very difficult to get in because it's just a very aggressive stock, really holding that 5 and 8 moving averages and just continue to grind higher. Short-term support coming around 53.20, longer-term support around 50, even down to 44. But this has just been a really large move higher. It's very difficult to get into it unless it really pulls back a lot. You're in it. That's a nice trade, a nice investment, really. It's been holding that line for a little bit. That's the same thing that happened to Mitri. I had a couple shares that wanted to buy like the 415, 412 level or something, 417 or something, and was just doing my work a normal day, and then I got a notification from Tastyworks of, hey, Tesla. I'm like, whoa, what the heck? Tesla dropped that much? I'm like, okay. It's a very nice looking stock, isn't it, Alpaca? Steven says, any chance of Crowd and Rocket going up? Yeah, I think there's a chance of going up, but I think with earnings and it's kind of taken on some damage, we're potentially looking for, especially Crowd. I'm not in any of these stocks, but to kind of hold above 127 to 125, that trend would still be intact here with that movement going up. It could be shaking out some people, and we could get some basically everyone running to the door and selling kind of a philosophy and movement tomorrow. And that overall people just getting scared of like, oh, I don't want it to go back down to 100, and then everyone just runs to the door. It could be a nice buying opportunity if it gets to around the 118 and holds for a couple days and builds a base. But I think these are great base companies. Like they didn't move just on this just because on hopes and dreams. They do offer products and they do very good things in that. Same with Rocket. Like Rocket, it still looks fairly strong here, even though it got down to like 28. 30, we're looking for some support basically around 27.63, 27.70, all the way down to potentially 26.85. That trend is still somewhat intact. As long as it closes above the 28.36, this trend looks fairly strong. So wherever the 8 EMA lies, that can really go forth there. Jeremy Chang, thank you for the $5, my friend. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, my friend. Always nice to be. That's very kind of you. Another $5, Jeremy. Whoa, Mitch, $17. Great channel you're building. Thoughts on the best stocks to wheel in the 20 to 30 range. Also gold. Thanks. Whoa, thanks, man. Jeremy, wow, that was out of nowhere. Appreciate it. Thank you. 20 to $30 range. And let's see here. Let me see if I can spin something up for you there. Are you talking about trading or investing here? So Snap was one. Apps, Wendy's. We can look at these here in a second. So what I mean by this, we can look at these movements that kind of come through. So Snap is one that we kind of looked at, and with apps. So Snap, I've never used this. So I don't know how it works and everything, but I've been told it's kind of like Instagram-ish. With that movement, potentially seeing this kind of hold here above $23 to potentially get a move to 24 to 25 if you're looking to trade that. And as well with apps, has been in a pretty nice squeeze here. Did I spell that right? Was it? Yeah. This thing looks really interesting, kind of making somewhat of a bounce here on the 21 EMA and kind of bouncing off to that 2680 level. Potentially, those purple dots are actually those parabolic SAR, they're my friend. with that, again, holding off the 21 EMA, bouncing here, coming up to the 2670 level. That's basically the 618 level here. With this large red candle here, with that wick exposed so much, we see that movement potentially even going higher to 28 to 29. If this can really hold above that 2678 level, we're looking for that target of basically $31.52 in the short term. Since it had earnings and it really just crushed it, this is very much a, they call it a semicircle, or a basically a, could be a cup. And then if it has a handle on it, it basically could just trade sideways at that 618. So this is definitely an interesting one that I will be potentially trading as well. And thank you, my friend. That really does mean a lot. I appreciate everyone supporting the channel. It just feels great that people are as all the hard work that I try to help folks understand the stock market. And again, donations are not have to happen, but they're really they're appreciated. I really do. It really helps me in the sense of giving me the confidence to continue doing this channel, because it's a lot of fun. And thank you for the support, and Jeremy as well. So you want to look at Fastly? Yeah, we'll look at Fastly. FSLY. FSLY. Fastly. So this one kind of we just talked about with those SaaS companies who had a huge run up on earnings expectations, and then came back down. So like we talked about Crowd, we talked about Rocket, and all these other newer IPO stocks that everyone's just kind of big fan of right now. We're seeing that potentially kind of come down here. It held a 34 50-day EMA, kind of start getting above. We saw that 5 and 8 cross through the 21. That's a great sign. And now it's kind of consolidating here. It's not being able to break above those parabolic SARs, which is basically around 98.26. So that all it needs to break to get above that is to basically get those ticks, or the candle of the stick, to break above that, and really want to see it above $100. The momentum is looking great. I kind of like the kind of a drying up of volume. Basically, could be potentially a lot not more selling and different facts like that, but really looking for that momentum to kind of hold here, potentially around the 50% retracement. So that's the swing high to swing low from the previous high to low. That 50% retracement is not a Fibonacci number, but it's a really round number, and people really look at that. Looking for that $95 level to hold, build that base, get that momentum going, and get the RSI and bombs on oscillator to start printing higher to get above that 100. Really looking for that price target around 108 for potential next leg of resistance. And again, thank you, my friends, for those donations. Really, really do appreciate it. The Walmart, yeah. Any option suggestions? Yeah, Walmart was a WMT, right? Huge move. Like, I'm kind of beating myself up because I had calls on this, and I sold at the 137 level because that was my initial target, because we had that squeeze, came back down. We put it in the Patreon and then the YouTube membership tab for the members. And that basically came down to this level around 130, 131, bought some calls, had a huge run higher, kind of sold here because that was a huge move in one day. Got out of that, made a nice profit. We potentially saw this potentially hold here at 137, but it literally just wanted to take off some more, and it has, and it's just been breaking out and just really racketing to all-time highs. It's not even showing it on the higher band of the RSI, which is strange. So if this can kind of consolidate potentially around 143 or even 145, this can easily potentially run up to 160. Yeah, Alpaca, you're right. Yeah, we made money and we got out. That's right. So we took profit. We made it. It was a nice trade, but you never want to look back at those. Like, I can give you the story where I bought AMD at $4 and like thousands of shares at $4. Yeah. But someone just came in and asked, how's AMD doing? AMD is looking strong. So AMD had that price target around $95, It's still tucking along here. That 5 and 8 moving averages is still kind of carrying it higher. Potentially start seeing it, not saying bottoming here, but if we start seeing some pressure and some selling coming in, we're looking for some support around 83, even down to $80. Since the semiconductors, like we just talked about Intel, we talked about Taiwanese, TSM, both have been rocketing higher, looking for that initial support around $95. Since I'm, full disclosure, my friend, I'm longer term trades in AMD with longer durated leaps. We're looking for price target around 132. I have no idea when that's going to happen, but that's my overall target for my longer dated leaps. And if it comes down to some certain levels, basically, if it comes back down to like 65 to 73, I have to consider buying some more. But if it comes down with one single red candle, that's scary. If it slowly makes its way down, grinding and kind of more gracefully, then I'll be getting into it. But yeah. Yeah, when's Snowflake coming out? Oh, when is the Snowflake IPO coming out? Have they announced that? That's definitely going to run. What do you think about Chegg? Yeah, Chegg has been, ever since the CEO kind of came out and said that 20% of universities are going to fail, it wasn't really a good move. But it's kind of just trending lower here just slightly. We had the 5 and 8 crossover, had a huge red day, which has scared a lot of people out. But guess what? It came right down to the 50-day. The red line is the 50-day simple moving average, or the SMA, and then we have the 55 is the exponential moving average there. So it came down to those two key levels, kind of held there. We call those the hedge fund levels. That's when hedge funds like to buy here, because usually on those moves down to the 50 days, there's a lot of volume, a lot of weak hands getting out, because again, a lot of earlier retail investors and just folks follow the 50-day simple moving average and the 200-day, and those are kind of the fundamental levels a lot of people do buy at. Because the 50-day simple EMA or simple moving average is basically an investor, retail investor, hedge fund that's a little bit more aggressive buying, and then the 200 SMA or 200 EMA is more of the longer term investor or the value investor that we call it. David Lift with all these emojis, I love it. Could we pump Snowflake and get out of Pekka? Yeah, let's start a Wall Street bet spamming. So with this one, with Chegg, basically, potentially, if it can get above, we can draw a quick fib here. I want to get back into this one, but it just kind of does a little bit too much damage here. From the swing high to swing low, looking for some potential breakout above 78 to basically $80 level. If it gets above 80, that's the 50% retracement to some potential support. We are seeing the overall momentum switch from red to yellow. RSI and volume zone also are climbing, and we could see that movement to kind of capture and go higher to that 82-ish level. Really looking for the target around 85 if it really can get up and moving, without a doubt. But there has been damage to the stock, so it had to be a little bit of mindful and don't want to get head faked here on a potential pullback. Really showing some support, basically back down to around $72 to $73. Oof. The I was gonna I need to do a story time and start telling some stories about the I should do a YouTube video of all the investment opportunities that I missed. Let's see here. I think did I just miss someone? I think I missed something. I don't use the platform anymore. I used to use it way back when, way before, like in 2015 maybe. but then I switched to that's when I started trading options, and I got into, it was actually Options House. I don't think they're even open anymore. Option House. Yeah, they sold to E-Trade. So I got an Options House in like 2015, but they were, yeah. Animated stories? That'd be cool. I don't know how to animate though, Check. Do you know how to animate? Or maybe I can hire someone on Fiverr to help me with that. Stock up 101. Yes, we can do Tesla for you, my friend. Tesla, again, long-term hold, full disclosure. Downside support potentially coming in. Why is my Microsoft thing spinning here? Thank you. Looking for some support around 395 to 400 if it wants to come back down to these levels. Short-term support around 412. Back when Ken was still a noob. I traded stocks since basically 2008, 2009, but then I wanted to expand my knowledge and get into investing. So we gotta do some MS Paint. Alpaca, do some stick figures. Knowing you, Alpaca, you'll be adding some inappropriate stuff to those animations in the background. Yeah, Paint's still around. They just changed the format slightly. I forget, it's called something else now. But with Tesla really looking for some downside if it does want to continue going lower. The only thing is, like, I don't really always follow candles, stock 101. Sorry, stock up 101. But this candle right here with this super long tail here, I'm not gonna say it's a tall tail, no pun intended, but this could be, again, getting out of a lot of weak hands. We had a lot of people selling today, and a lot of people just not saying dumping it, but a lot of profit taking, but then a lot of people buying it. That's what basically this long tails mean. A lot of early selling in the morning. If we go to the daily chart here, you can really see that really play out. Once the bell opened up, a lot of selling came in, and then we just kind of leveled off. It didn't just continue to go lower. Like, look how long this candle is. Just in, basically, this is a 1 hour chart. Let's look at let's do a 15-minute chart. Like, that movement from basically 11 to like 12, it just recovered, like really making a strong V-shaped bottom. That super long candle here really just helped elevate the company or elevate the stock, and got a lot of people, again, had a, like, it went down to $405, but then within 15 minutes later, it went back up to 425, and then went up to 450 today, and then just kind of just petered off and kind of started trading sideways from there. Again, long-term shareholder here, so it's going to be very difficult for me to be shooken out about Tesla. I had to go substantially lower to break my cost basis, but adding some shares today, which was great, but I'm willing to add shares even back down to 300. So Alpaca with your 420. I love you, Alpaca. Thank you, my friend. Is ZM doing the same thing Tesla did? Have we looked at ZM? Yeah, we looked at ZM today. What do you mean by same thing Tesla did? Like the huge breakout after its earnings report? Like this move here, way back in October of last year, where it literally gapped up and just continued to grind higher, and just really move higher. Is that what you're talking about, Tay? Because usually, if a stock has like such a large 2 deviation move like this, it's kind of there to stay. But what we can kind of see come out, which is a little bit of the question mark in the equation, is to see if what's going to happen first. Is this going to just trade sideways and wait for these moving averages to kind of catch up, and then kind of base build and go higher to the around 580 level? Or would it come back down and just let the ticks come down to the moving average? And will the ticks meet the moving averages, or will the moving averages meet the ticks? That's basically that overall movement there. What we're really kind of playing. with the candle being super close to each other, we did close below this one, not like CRM did. So we could be potentially seeing some, again, that lower price to potentially 400 be a nice round number. But I think there was just a lot of profit taking in the stock with this super large move. Of course, a lot of people consolidating. And I think what we could be seeing too, you have to be mindful about this, because you just have to think about all the other people playing this game called the stock market, trading and investing. We could get margin calls. Margin calls basically meaning this stock had earnings on Monday, right? Monday after the bell. So we could see some consolidation come Thursday or Friday. It's usually 2 or 3 days later when a large fund was short Zoom or whatever. Like, you have to be very mindful of that. So usually after a large earnings move like this, I usually wait 2, 3, maybe 4 days or trading days to kind of see where it pans out. That's just my thought process. So Joel Davis, GNF. What is that? Is that a penny stock? GNFW. Ooh, what is a 5G Networks Ltd? So this is, I hate to say this is a penny stock and I can't really touch this. It looks somewhat good, but it was 28 cents and it's kind of just like, I just can't trade it. It's been holding the 21 EMA. 143 looks pretty nice, but I really can't give too much word on that just due because it kind of falls out of my price range. Sorry. WSM, is that Williams Sonoma? Williams Sonoma, yikes. So I gotta be fully disclosed. This is crazy. I ordered a barbecue Chewbacca apron, and I thought it was going to come in a reasonable time. I ordered it back in May, and it said it's going to take 4 months for me to get my Chewbacca apron. I'm like, summer's going to be over. So I wasn't happy with that. I had to share my story. With this, again, with earnings, really, again, looks like it didn't do very well, you said, and looking like that 5 and 8 are crossing through the 21 and can continue trading lower. We are seeing some potential base building here, or bottoming, as we call it, around the 50. The 50 and 55 are basically where we just talked about, where the more average investor kind of that follows the 50-day kind of things like that. We want to see those 5 and 8 moving averages potentially to consolidate here and see it trade sideways if that 50-day can hold around the $87-ish price target and kind of just trade sideways here. We can see, let me do some fibs here. Actually, you know what we want to do? We're going to do the retracements. Did the wrong thing. So swing high to swing low to swing high. Yeah, so if we can get above that $89 and see these moving averages start leveling off here, that could be a nice little potential trading sideways base building mentality, as long as we don't see some more selling going on. I think this, again, earnings has happened a couple days ago, almost a week. So we could see, again, that kind of falls in that time frame we just talked about. Let those weak hands, let those other people figure out if they don't want to own the stock anymore. And we can kind of come here, get for a potential trade, and then buy this up here and try to get a short-term trade or even an investment, depending on what your cup of tea or how you like your coffee, with that 5 to 8 moving averages potentially leveling off and seeing that movement, again, base building around that 89 to 87 level, and then see that movement kind of come up to 93, even down back to 95. But we really need to see that 5 and 8 moving averages stop printing lower, leveling off here, and potentially see them cross back up to the 21 EMA. Guys, it's been literally 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 39 seconds here that I've been streaming. It's getting a little bit late here. I'm gonna go spend some time with the fam. I really appreciate everyone coming out. Oh, Army of Goop. Okay, we can do some Alibaba real fast. Let's do Alibaba. Alibaba here, again, really printing higher. Really looking for this to continue. If it wants to hold that 5 and 8 moving averages to continue grinding higher above that $300 level, looking for 312 being the next target. To the downside, we're looking for potentially target where this little oval I put in. basically around 275, because there's just a lot of things lining up. We have the 1272 extension, we have the 21 EMA coming through, and the parabolic SAR as well. Guys, on that note, thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you, Mitch, and thank you, Jeremy Chang, for those donations. I really do appreciate it, and as well as everyone coming out and joining, the new members as well. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. If any comments or questions, you can go ahead and just head over to the Discord, and I'll answer them as best as I can. Just an FYI, I will be physically out on Friday, so if you try to ping me, I'm not ignoring you. I want to be literally out. I have a surgery planned for some hernia fixing. But that being said, guys, I hope to see you soon. I'll be having some videos coming out, and we'll see you guys Saturday night for a live stream, and of course we'll see you Sunday night as well. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is Ken from the Dyslexic Investor, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace!